Hi, and welcome back to Tony's Cool Tools. If it's your first time, thanks for stopping. So in today's video, I'm going to show you a tool that's not only a back-saving tool, but also is indispensable for doing firewood, logging, or moving any type of wood. So the tool I'm referring to is either the Hookaroon or Pickaroon. It also goes by other names, and I'll explain those a little bit later. Now this tool has been around for hundreds of years, typically in the alpine area of Europe. And in the 1900s, the Europeans immigrated here to the US and brought a lot of these tools with them for the logging industry. And as I mentioned, these tools are used by arborists, landscapers, homesteaders, foresters, as well as woodhounds. These tools go by several different names: Hook-a-roon, Pick-a-roon, Sappie, Skid-a-roon, and there's even an Ochsenkopf, and I'll talk about that a little later. So about 2 years ago, Chris from In the Woodyard and I did a review on a couple of the Pick-a-roons or Hook-a-roons, but as you can see, I've accumulated quite a few more, and I figured I'd update the review. There's a lot of features and benefits on these new ones I think you'll find interesting. Next to the Pick-a-roon or Hook-a-roon, the most indispensable tool that we have is our log tongs. And you'll typically find me in the woodyard with one hand holding a log tong, the other a Pick-a-roon or Hook-a-roon. Here are the 7 different brands that we're going to be covering today. And that's Logrite, Logox, the Viking Mountain Tool Works private label brand Woodsman, the Fiskars, the Husqvarna, the Woodchuck, and lastly, the Ochsenkopf. And for those of you that are new and don't understand the difference between a Hookaroon and a Pickaroon, simple example here. This one here is a Hookaroon. It has a parrot-type beak that goes down like this. And this is referred to more so as a Pickaroon. It's a straight one. It does have a little curve to it, but primarily it's straight. Very similar to a pick like you see here. But both of them work fantastic on either end grain or the long grain of the wood. Now the other thing I wanted to just mention is this little cute thing. It's called a Sappie. Now it all depends on what part of the country you're in, or if you're from Europe or not. Different areas call these tools different things. This is a Sappie. This also could be called a Sappie. So it's a regional thing. There are many tip configurations, as you can see here, for the Pickaroons and Hookaroons. So the Pickaroon and Hookaroon handles come in a variety of different materials and lengths, as you can tell here. One of the most common is the axe type handle, as you can see here. The next one is made by Logox. This is a steel handle, and it's built like a tank. You're never going to destroy that. Now the next one here is the Fiskars, and people refer to it as a plastic handle. It's made from fiber comp. That's a material that's actually stronger than steel. So don't get hung up on the term plastic. And remember, all of Fiskars tools are guaranteed for life. Now the next material here, as you can see, all the other ones are made out of aluminum. And that's because it's durable and it's lightweight. So a lot of people like it and a lot of manufacturers like to use it. So one last thing I wanted to mention, and that is, regardless of which handle design you have, which tip design, or which manufacturer, these do not work well with frozen wood. You'll end up breaking the tips on these. So I just thought I'd let you know that. So now to go over the different brands, we're going to start out with probably the most recognized Pick-a-roon out there, and that's the Logrite. As I had mentioned before, it has an aluminum handle here, and it does have a textured rubberized grip that you can replace if this tears up. If you leave this in the back of your truck and it gets wet and beat up, you can get this replaced. And as I mentioned, it comes in a variety of different lengths. And as you can see, these two look very similar. Even though this one says steel and this one says Logrite, Logrite makes it for the steel company. It private labels it for them, along with many other companies out there. I've owned this steel Pick-a-roon here for about 10 years or so, and I love it. And it's seen a lot of use. The next brand I'm going to be covering is the Logox. This is part of their 3-in-1 forestry multi-tool. Basically, this part here is your Pick-a-roon. Everything else here is part of the assembly, the modular system here. So all you do, put that in there, put the pin in, and this has quite a unique tip here. The designer of this was really thinking. He took the benefits of the pulp hook, and if you've ever watched Buck and Billy Ray, he uses this pulp hook, unbelievable he can flip logs. But I don't want to get carpal tunnel, so I'll stick with this tool right here. It does the work for me. It's a steel handle which gives it a lot of weight, so when you swing down, you've got a lot of inertia in it, and it really picks up the logs well. It holds them on the tip here very, very well. I'm extremely impressed with this tool. So the next brand we're going to be covering is the Fiskar. It's extremely popular because of how light it is. The handle here is very similar to an axe, and it's comfortable. It only comes in these two sizes here, and that's it. Now this tip here is made out of boron steel. It's really, really hard. But if you do break either the tip or the handle, remember, lifetime guarantee on Fiskar tools. And this little Sappie here, it's real popular for sawmills because after the sawmill, after you cut the board, you take this, jab it on the end of the board and pull it, as opposed to having to grab the edges of the board and pull the whole board out. So they make a lot of these small Sappies or these small Hookaroons for the bandsaw market. So the next on our list is the Viking Mountain Tool Works private label brand, the Woodsman. Now this tool right here is very similar to the log-right type of tool. It does have a very aggressive head on here. It's made of aluminum, and it does have a cushion grip. The other Viking Mountain Tool Works Woodsman tool is this one. It looks like a climbing axe for climbing ice or mountains in Switzerland or something. But it is extremely comfortable. It's probably one of the most comfortable feeling handles here because of this grip. It actually holds from it slipping out of your hands in case your hands are wet. But it is super light, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. Let me explain. When you have a piece of oak, hickory, or honey locust that's really hard, or even the folks in Australia who have the really, really hard woods, this would have a tough time with that. Because it's so light, you really need to take a heavy swing to get it to bury into the end grain of the wood. Whereas this one is a little bit better. But don't get me wrong, this has a place as well. Because if you just need something to take wood out of the back of your pickup truck that you can't reach or whatever, this is your tool right here. I figured I'd cover these two Hookaroons at the same time. They're very, very similar. This is the Husqvarna Hookaroon and the Ochsenkopf. Now, as you can tell, they're almost identical here. This one has just a little bit more pronounced peak, and I will tell you what, it does dig into the end grain of the wood. But it uses the standard typical axe handle here, and it's extremely comfortable. This is probably one of my most favorite tools as well. But when it gets wet, this gets a little bit slick here. But other than that, it's a great tool. I've owned this tool here. I've owned this Husqvarna tool, and as I say, I'm non-denominational when it comes to brands. I've owned this for about 5 years now and really like it as well. Now, Woodchuck is the last brand that we're going to be covering, and it's the newest Pick-a-roon that I picked up a while back, and I'm telling you what, I'm very impressed with it. This tip here, as you can see, I thought at first it's not going to really work well. I was extremely surprised at how well this tool does work. It's made out of heavy aluminum, and it's called a skidderoon, and I'll show you how this works in just a moment, but let me explain what this does also. This has a little pistol grip here, and that's for indexing. When you pick the tool up, you put your finger right on there. It does two things. One, gives you more grip to pull back with, and secondly, you know when you put your finger here that the tip is in line with your finger. Whereas if I take a standard one and I just pick it up like this, I have to reposition it to get to the forward or parallel to my body here. Whereas with this one, I just pick it up, I know I'm ready to start picking logs up. But this Skidderoon is unique in that this cable right here, when you pull it, when you remove it, you can take this and pick up branches, and here in the back has a handle, so you can lasso a bunch of logs like this and then carry them or drag them to the location where you want them, either a burn pile or the back of your truck to take them away. It's kind of cool. I don't know how much I'm going to be using that because I've got a grapple, but I'll tell you what, on manual jobs where I don't have my tractor, it might come in handy, and I'll show you how that works shortly. So here's how the Skidderoon part works. I've released the cable here. I have my handle right here, my T-handle. All I do is raise the bundle of limbs that I have, put the cable around it, tighten it up, and I'm ready to move. And it really works well. One of the jobs that I do is repositioning logs so that I can get a better angle for my forklift. So I just grab this and roll it over. Once I get to where I want it, I'll go to the end grain here, put it in, drag the log over, and now I have better positioning to put my forks underneath it. So when I'm cutting on a pile like this and it's kind of high and it's a little dangerous, I usually get my cant hook or my peavey out and knock the log off by pulling it off. But if I'm lazy and I don't have it, I usually have my Pick-a-roon or Hookaroon with me, and it's super easy. Just hook it on, and there we go. If I wanted to get the second log here, I just pull the whole thing. And that's how easy it is. So if I have a bunch of these 4 to 5 inch logs here and I don't have my log tongs, no problem. I use my Hookaroon or my Pick-a-roon, lift one end up, and if you notice something, I never bent down. Now I can put this in my tractor trailer or the pickup truck easily. I know many of you buck up logs like this. This is about 23 inches. Now, usually you'll go ahead and you'll noodle these into quarters. With the Axis, the Easton-made Axis, I love getting them this big. I'd rather work with something this large because I get a lot more wood out of it. And the nice thing is about this is I use two Hookaroons here, and I'll show you how. Basically, it's difficult to try to get this on its edge, but with this tool, no issue. And now I just position this so I get it close to my trailer. And that's how easy it is. Same thing here. I love positioning these things. So it's super easy. I don't have to muscle it up. I don't have to do the shibe, jerk and lift these into the back of the truck. I'm a little too old for that now. So, but with these, as you can see, real simple by using 2 of these. So now that we went through the 6 different brands and the Pick-a-roons and the Hookaroons, I wanted to recap the benefits of these tools. First, limited bending. Your back is going to thank you for it. Second, your hands are going to stay drier. Your gloves are going to stay drier. Super benefit right there, especially in the winter or when you're working after a rainfall. It's an extension of your arm, so if you're pulling stuff out of the back of the pickup truck, some logs or pieces of wood, you have 3 foot or more to add to your arm to pull it out of the back of your pickup truck. Now you can pick up logs and carry them to the splitter as well. They're not as easy as using a log tong, but a lot of people prefer these. It's personal choice. You can roll large logs, as I showed you before, to position them for your pallet forks or position them so you can start cutting on them as well. And by using 2 Hookaroons or Pick-a-roons, I can move large rounds easily up into my trailer. So hopefully you've got a better understanding of what a Pick-a-roon or a Hookaroon are and what they do. I will have information on these tools in the info section below. And one little surprise, the folks at Viking Mountain Tool Works, who represent Woodchuck, their Woodsman brand, and Logrite, are offering a 10% discount for Tony's Cool Tools viewers. If you check out Logox and wait another month or so for Father's Day, they typically have a nice sale on those as well. So if you found this video interesting and informative, please like, share, and subscribe, and give me a thumbs up as well. And remember, pass it forward. Make the world a better place. Don't be a tool. Watch Tony's Cool Tools. Until I see you next time, have a great one.